The only saving grace was that I didn't have adequate time to process my grief. If I had, it may have completely gotten the better of me. But in a matter of seconds, we were on the move. We put out fires, covered up bodies, and went into the lobby to find Wolfgang standing there, waiting. He looked us up and down and asked, "What happened?" He tried to keep it covered up with his jacket, but I noticed the gun in his waistband immediately. "Where were you?" Lauren asked. "I don't know," he lied. A coughing fit got the better of Claire. She fell into the corner trying to catch her breath. Instead of rushing to her sister's side, Lauren turned to me. I knew what was coming. I didn't particularly care for it either. "Save it," I said. "I'm okay." Of course I wasn't okay, but time was of the essence. The last thing I needed was to hear her reciting the same platitudes Tobias had given Wolfgang only minutes earlier, after his mother had died, when that sneaky little shit took advantage of our distraction and stole the gun. The words, they rung as hollow now as they did then. Wolfgang came to the bottom of the stairs, took a look at the damage in the room behind us, and asked, "Is there anyone left?" What he meant was, is there anyone left alive? Anyone else to worry about stopping him? He was too inexperienced to be subtle. Even without Claire's ability amplifying my senses, I would have known. Nathaniel may have been dead, but as long as Wolfgang was armed, we weren't out of the woods just yet. I went for the safe answer. "We don't know. There's probably more people here." He pointed at the destruction and said, "Who was all in there?" I stepped closer. His hands gravitated uncomfortably close to the hidden weapon. "We don't know," I said. Wolfgang cocked his head at me, no doubt wondering if I suspected him. But how could he have ever guessed that I knew exactly what he was thinking? I didn't understand it myself. These thoughts were just appearing in my head randomly. It has been a while since I've taken my medicine. "What are we going to do now?" he asked. "I have a plan," I answered. Then, on the fly, I made up a plan. "We need to split up. The girls will stay here and search for survivors. You and I will go get my car and bring it back around." "I thought you said your car broke down." "It did. I have everything I need to fix it now." That's it. Just tell him whatever you need to. Just get him away from the others." Lauren put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Jack." I turned to her. "This is the best idea." Then I looked past her to Claire. "Isn't that right?" Claire nodded in agreement. That was enough for Lauren. "Be careful," Claire said, without moving her lips, just using her voice. I turned back to Wolfgang. "Let's go. We don't have much time." He flashed a grin and said, "After you." The rain was chilling to the bone. We were both drenched in no time. Stinging wind and water lit up every bit of flesh, burnt my face and hands. The storm had quickly washed the blood and bits out of my hair, the solid pieces. I realized with disgust that there were splinters of bone fragments. I wanted to puke. But I held myself together. I needed to keep my wits about me and watch for a right opportunity to turn the tables. But Wolfgang was patient, calculating. He followed closely, but never coming within arm's reach. We used our phone's flashlight to cut through the darkness. If I got lucky, my baseball bat might save the day. But as we continued, I became aware of certain curious matters. There seemed to be far more trees than I remember seeing on our walk up here. The road felt thinner. Where we walked, it might barely be considered enough space for a one-way. And our walk didn't include any sort of decline. Weren't we supposed to be going downhill? Crick, 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 crick. I shined my light in the forest for a moment, and it looked like something skittered into the branches. But whatever it might have been was the least of our concerns. We were nearly a mile into the trip before Wolfgang finally spoke up. "You know, you look like a shit took a shit." Considering I'd just been blown up, lost my best friend, and probably was about to die, his assessment could have been a lot worse. All I could say was, okay. I didn't recognize anything around us, but it was impossible that we could have gotten lost on the only road. And yet, being impossible hardly seemed to stop anything from happening today. The only thing I could do was chalk it up to my memory playing tricks on me, again. How long had it been since I'd taken my medicine? It must have been another mile or two down the road before Wolfgang spoke again. How far away from the house do you think we'd have to be for nobody to hear a gunshot? In this weather, you could probably shoot someone dead at the end of the driveway and nobody would be any the wiser. But I sure as hell wasn't about to tell him that. Don't worry, gunshots are loud as hell. If someone were to fire a gun, everyone would know. You little fucking Captain Obvious asshole, klepto-sociopath. I kept pushing forward. The trees were so thick on either side that they looked like a solid wall in the dark. That's not right, I thought to myself. I remember. This was all farmland before. How much further? Wolfgang whined. I'm not sure. The cars should be around here somewhere. I scanned the edges of the road for a stick or a rock, anything. I could feel it. He had lost his patience. He was getting ready to take the shot, and I didn't have anything to defend myself. I don't think we walked this far, he said. I think somebody must have moved the cars. Who would do something like that? I don't know, but it makes sense. I stopped, turned around and faced him, and asked, how does that make sense? Think about it. Whoever did this has it down to a pattern. They must have had lots of practice. They probably have friends or workers who wait until we leave. And then they come and drive our cars to the scrapyard. They're good at this because they had done it so many times before. You're right. That does make sense, I said. Even though it really didn't. I've got to say, you don't seem all that worried. I've got a plan. Yeah? Yeah, when they come for me, I'll just kill them all. I turned around and started walking again. Hey, let's keep looking. Maybe our car's a little further up this way. I put some pep in my step to try to create some distance between us. But Wolfgang was faster than me, and he kept up without any problem. You know what? He said. I think that's the secret ingredient. Patience. You just need a little bit of practice and you can do anything you want. There was something up ahead. An interruption in the pattern. A driveway. For a moment, I thought I was safe. Wolfgang hadn't noticed it yet. He just kept talking. That's what my mom always told me. She said I needed real-world experience and I could do whatever I wanted. As I got closer, I realized what was wrong with this driveway. I had seen it before. You know why my mom left her room after that man told us to stay still? She wanted to sneak away before the cops could arrive. Do you know why? Because she thought I was the one who killed that old bitch. Mom thought she was protecting me, but really, she was just controlling me. And then I saw the opportunity, and you know what I did? I took my knife and Wolfgang! I shouted. He was grinning, holding the gun in his hand, eager to get more practice. What? Take a look. I pointed up the driveway. He was so hyper-focused that he failed to realize where we were. We had been walking for miles in a straight line, yet somehow we were standing right where we started, at the entrance to Bedside Manor. He laughed. What's so funny? I asked. Doesn't matter, he said. I'm still gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna kill the sisters, and I'll kill anyone else who tries to fuck with me. And then when the cops arrive, I'll tell them... My cell phone collided with his face as hard as I could throw it. In an alternate universe, I might have made an incredible baseball player. But in this one, I was taking advantage of the young psychopath's inexperience and running blindly in the forest for cover. A second later, he let out a primal howl. The light from the phone cast my shrinking shadow against the trees, giving me just enough visual reference to slide between two giant trunks as the first shot rang out. He screamed again and rushed after me, firing wildly, with no regard for ammo conservation. His light was the only source out here. The further I got, the harder it was to see. I tripped a few times, hit a few branches, and then finally stopped. I pushed myself against the closest tree and I held my breath. He was still broadcasting his position like a total amateur, screaming and firing. But he obviously had no idea where I had gone. I started the climb. The kid would never find me up here. Another shot rang out, much closer, and then I saw the light steadily growing brighter. Wolfgang headed straight for me, but he couldn't know where I was, right? He didn't see me climb, did he? I had the upper hand as long as I stayed still and I didn't move. I mean, it's not like he was psychic too, right? Oh shit, crap, fuck, dang. Is he psychic too? He stepped right into the clearing beneath my tree and stopped. Hey, Jack, he called out. If you come out now, I promise I'll put a bullet right in your brain. I know how to make it fast. I was gauging the possibility of a surprise drop attack when I heard the noise. A low, rumbling growl emanating everywhere deeper in the forest. Wolfgang snapped his light in every direction of the sound. Jack? Is that you? The growl became louder, and then it split into multiple, a chorus of thunderous growls coming from every direction. He swung the gun and the light in a full circle. He called out, "Hey, who's there?" The circle began to shrink in on us, becoming louder, closer. When the first creature appeared, it took all my self-control not to scream. The thing was nearly as tall as Wolfgang. Bright red eyes, coal black fur, 4 legs, hackles raised, teeth bared. A nightmarish hellhound, steadily closing in on its prey. Wolfgang fired. The bullet landed right in the animal's snout, but just like Nathaniel, the animal had no reaction to the injury. "Stay back!" Wolfgang screamed. I noticed the other hellhounds a second before he did. And he spun around and fired at the other one, caught it right across the torso. But the monster didn't so much as yip. He didn't get a third shot. The animals attacked all at once, tearing directly into him, ripping flesh from bone as he screamed in terror and agony. I closed my eyes. If I could have, I would have closed my ears too. But I had to listen to him wail as they devoured him alive and dragged him off into the woods. Sometime later, it's hard to say how long, I'm pretty much certain I was in the early to mid stages of hypothermia. I reopened my eyes. Much to my amazement, I could see my surroundings. The sun was already rising. Even though storm clouds continued to blot out the sky, and enough light broke through to give me navigation back. I needed to get to Claire and Lauren before they made the mistake of coming out here to look for me. The rules of the game had changed, quite unexpectedly, again. And now, there was pertinent information that needed to factor into our survival plan. Wolfgang had been killed by... I literally rolled my eyes as the thought hit me. Really funny, whoever's in charge. Wolfgang was killed by a gang of wolves. What the actual fuck? Anyway. After carefully falling out of the tree onto my ass, I righted myself and started back towards the house. I took 2 steps and stopped and wondered, is this even the right direction? I turned around and tried to remember which way I was running before I climbed into the tree. In the panic of all of it, I had forgotten to take visual reference. Not that it really mattered, considering how every tree looked the exact same. I heard the growl just in time to turn around and see the black wolf standing just a couple of yards away. Somehow, it looked even more terrifying in the daytime. Eyes glowing red as hot embers. Fur blacker than the night. Teeth full display. "Hey, buddy," I said in my calmest voice. "Look at you. Who's a good boy? You are. Thanks for the assist back there. You should be full by now. Right?" I hit the ground before I even realized he had pounced. I felt the full weight of the enormous creature pinning me down. I felt my ribs cracking like pretzels beneath his paws, stabbing my organs from the inside. The very last thing I felt was the searing, brutal pain of its teeth, dull but strong, as they pinched around my throat and ripped out my windpipe. I couldn't scream. I couldn't fight. All I could do was die. No, wait, don't touch it!" Jerry screamed. There was a lot of screaming, actually, but Jerry's was the first voice I could make out. The light snapped back on. The warmth had returned to my skin. The ringing in my ears from the blast was gone. We were all seated around the dining room table. We were all perfectly dry. Everyone was back in their period costumes. No cuts, no scrapes, no bruises. Everything was, dare I say, normal. Tobias and Bridget jumped to their feet and embraced. Hope vomited onto her dinner plate. Wolfgang stared across the table, fury in his eyes. The voices continued over one another, fighting, screaming, crying. Eventually, Jerry whistled loud enough to make everyone shut up. He had the floor now. All right, everybody calm your collective tits. Let me ask you one question. Did I just die? Yeah, you died over an hour ago, Lauren said. Jerry put his hands on his hips, looked at Tobias, and laughed. I fucking told you so. You didn't die an hour ago, I corrected her. You died last night. You've been dead for so long. He looked at me, made a bemused face, and asked, Are you crying, dude? I couldn't tell you why he would ask something like that. I mean, I wasn't crying. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise wasn't there, doesn't know what happened, and is a big fat liar. Now, everyone. There was an audible gasp from several of us present as soon as Nathaniel began speaking. It would appear that our night has gotten off to a strange start, and fortunately, we have been given a second chance. I recommend we do not squander it. We get to figure out the mystery of Bedside Manor. Jerry picked up a dinner plate and frisbeed it across the table, smashing it into pieces across Nathaniel's face. The old man didn't react. Damn, Jerry said. I thought for sure that would prove he wasn't really blind. I think it proves that he isn't really human, Lauren corrected. Hope slammed the table with both hands and screamed, Will someone please tell me what's going on? Tobias asked, What's the last thing everyone remembers? Jerry answered first. You didn't listen to me and you got us killed. Lauren was next. We survived the explosion. Then Jack and Wolfgang went to go find help. And then... She couldn't bring herself to finish a sentence, so Claire did it for her. We were killed by a haunted suit of armor. Jerry nodded and said, Nice. What about you? Tobias asked, looking at Hope. The color drained from her face as she turned around and looked at her son. She answered, I didn't see who did it. Wolfgang pointed across the table at me and shouted, He did it! He's the one who killed me! Jerry couldn't contain himself. Oh, shut your butt, Wolfie! We're not idiots! We know you killed your mom! Don't you speak to my son that way, Hope shrieked. Your friend is the one taking crazy pills. I snapped right back at her. And you're the lady who recognizes antipsychotics in their drug names. Care to tell us why that is? Tobias was kind enough to change the subject. Alright, everybody hold on a second. Am I to understand that we all just experienced our own deaths? And then we regained our consciousness right here at the same time with no signs of injury whatsoever? Huh? Jerry responded. He looked around the table and asked, Hey, how come Maggie isn't here? Wasn't there enough fairy dust to bring everyone back? Maybe it was just a collective vision, Lauren offered. Maybe none of that actually happened. I mean, how could it have? The sound of a loud chime echoed throughout the house. What the hell is that? Jerry asked. Nathaniel answered with a smile. Ah, goody. It seems the detective has finally arrived. Perhaps he can help us sort out this ghastly affair. Guys, I'm sorry it took so long to get this uploaded. Had a little bit of an issue. Not with with Amazon, shockingly. I reached out to Jack Townsend. He helped me get this across. I bought the physical book, and I am gonna complete this. Guys, I really do deeply apologize for the time it took to get this uploaded. I hope you enjoyed it. I am going to try. I'm doing a lot. I promise you, I'm not just not doing stuff. I'm doing a lot here. I promise to get out the next one as soon as I can. Please like and share and do all that, and I will see you all within hours, probably. Everybody have a lovely evening, and we will see you in the next one.